Hello, risers, and welcome to Rising with Christian. Today, I am with the Jaleesa Hall. Okay, she is so phenomenal. She has a wonderful nonprofit. She is all in the community. She's serving the underserved, and she has a wonderful and tremendous story. So, welcome to our show.
Thank you for the invitation.
Yes.
I appreciate it.
Yes,
I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So honored for this time. So Jaleesa and I, we met at Wesley Theological Seminary.
Yes, ma'am.
Getting our divinity degree. And I was intrigued not only about what you did while at Wesley, but this drive and this hunger and this passion actually started when you were in undergraduate school. So tell me a little bit about Jaleesa in Georgia, attending school, who had a fire to start something new.
Sure. So when I was a freshman at Clark Atlanta University, which is an historically black college university in Atlanta, Georgia, I was a freshman doing what I call freshman things.
Yeah.
So I was doing the partying, I was doing the partying, and I was doing the partying, right? But eventually that got bored, got tired. And I was talking to my mom and my sister, who are very close to me, just about how I was feeling. And they said, you know, Jaleesa, you need to get back to your roots, which is leadership. You know, you need to get back to doing what you love, which is helping people kind of flourish and do what they're supposed to do and what God has called them to do. So I took some time to discern. I took some time to have some quiet time. And the Divine gave me the vision to do Driven Student Organization, which is an organization on the campus that I chartered at Clark Atlanta. Wow. And it was supposed to be an activities club originally, just an organization to provide just alternatives to the club and other kind of partying kind of things. But it turned into a public service organization. The members, I started with 6, and then by the time I graduated, we had 100 members active and strong. And so one of our first initiatives was the first ever student-led AIDS and HIV awareness campaign on campus. In fact, imagine being a sophomore and seeing hundreds and hundreds of students getting free testing on campus. And then we started a mentorship program at the Atlanta Children's Shelter called the Driven to Succeed program, where hundreds of college students had the opportunity to go to a children's shelter and to provide homework help, mentoring activities, social emotional learning activities. And it really became a movement. In fact, Driven was actually operating like a nonprofit.
Wow.
At the time. And so it was that experience that said, you know what? I think this is what God has called me to do. And so I went to school and got a master's in public administration. And
From American
University.
Yeah.
And then worked in the field to kind of really learn the ins and outs of nonprofit management and how do you create programs and budgets and those things, until God said, you know what, it's time. And I started the nonprofit from there.
Wow. So it sounds as if while in undergrad, that sophomore year, you started something from scratch.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So I know that there are some risers out there who's starting a lot of things from scratch. They probably have never done it. How did you get this insight on what to do? Did you have a mentor? Did you just plan, you know, in your dorm room? Like, what was that space that allowed you to really rise and do it and not just stop at the thought of it?
Right. Going from idea to kind of action.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay.
Absolutely.
I think it was a culmination of listening to wise counsel, but also taking the time to write the plan, write the vision, right? That is so important. I think that's what is the difference between an idea man or woman and a visionary. Because an idea person can create an idea, but a visionary actually has a strategic plan to walk that thing out. And so I took the time to do that. I just didn't say, oh, Driven, an organization, let me go. No, I said, what is this organization going to be about? Who is the organization going to serve? Who are the founding members that'll help me get it from point A to point B? So I started with those strategic steps in that plan to actually make it something that was viable. And even when I think about my own organization, Raising a Village Foundation, it was the same thing. I took the time to write the vision and taking the minute steps to execute that vision.
That's great.
Basically, yeah.
That is really good. So here you are, a sophomore. You don't have experience in this. No. You've never done it before. You know, how did you develop the confidence to say, I'm going to gather this team and I'm going to see where it goes?
Yeah. I think the confidence comes from need, right? Like knowing that you are servicing a need that is great, right?
Yeah.
That you are really being a problem solver. And so that is enough, that's the kind of initial kind of motivation to know that there's a need and God has called me to solve it, right? I think the other part is putting the right people around you, right? The people, not the yes people, but the people that, again, can help you get your vision from point A to point B. And when you have the right people that can kind of help you execute that vision, that's also helpful for giving you the confidence to know that this actually can work. And then again, wise counsel, right? These like folks who might not be on the ground with you, but might have experiences in different areas that can provide advice, right? Like, I'm not this rogue person, right? This cowgirl, like, I'm going to be out here on my own. No. Like, we never do anything on our own.
Right.
I mean, we always are riding on people who have gone before us, who have done what we've done.
Right.
And so wise counsel has also been one of the things that have given me the confidence to know how to do it and when to do it.
That's really good.
Yeah.
I remember the inception of Rise a few years ago. I was totally afraid to share the vision with people. I was afraid to tell people what I was going to do, but you found power in sharing the vision with others. So how did you know it was time to bring others along? For that person that's like, I have this great thing, but I don't want to share it. I don't want to build a team. How can you encourage them to see the light in connecting with the right people?
Right. I think that's a hard game, right? Is to who to partner with. I think partnerships are critical to any work.
Yeah.
But you want it to be the right partnership. I think for me, it was, again, having the vision solid and tight first. So when I went out to the marketplace to explain the vision, I knew the vision better than anyone could ever say, right? So if someone said, what's the mission of Raising a Village? I knew what that was.
Yeah.
When people said, what's the population that you want to serve? I knew what it was. Because you never know who you're going to come in contact with.
Yeah.
Like, what if you came in contact with a funder who's ready to fund your vision, but you don't know the demographics, you don't know the mission, you don't know the vision, you don't know anything, but this is a good idea and maybe the name. Like, that's not enough.
That's not enough.
So I needed to know the vision, well enough to be able to articulate it out in the marketplace. The second part is again doing kind of what we called, and you probably remember this from Fellows class, but the asset mapping, right?
Yes.
How many times have we drilled on that? Christian probably will let you all know what that is a little later. But knowing who were the right assets in my own circle, in my own community, again, that could help propel this in a way that people who had a sincere heart, a shared passion, a shared mission, because that's important when you come to partnership. They have a shared passion and a shared mission, who could, again, bring this vision into fruition. And so again, I think knowing your vision well enough to be able to articulate it out in the marketplace, and then having partners, being, of course, discerning about those partners, but having partners who have the same passion and same mission, and a sincere heart to help you push your
really good
forward. Yeah,
that's really, really good. And I can't wait to share with the risers how you have expanded this mission from just one place to multiple. But let's go back to, so you're at your school in Georgia.
Yes.
You go and you get your master's from American, then you go to Wesley Theological Seminary. How does this all connect? When did you get this call to go into the ministry or to serve, with your master's of divinity? How did this all come about?
Yeah, so again, I believe that purpose is not a destination, it is a journey.
It's a journey.
Right? It is ever evolving and growing. And so after undergrad, again, I said, you know what? I was majoring in communications at the time. In fact, I actually was offered a job at CNN at the time.
Wow.
And I had to make a decision.
Yeah.
Was I going to keep this comfy job in Atlanta, or was I going to go to graduate school? But again, I felt this call to go. And so I went to graduate school, went to AU, American University in Washington, D.C., where I got my master's in public administration.
Very prestigious school, y'all. Very prestigious, okay?
It cost enough,
okay? It does cost a lot. However, you were there.
I was there. And God did provide scholarships. It was great.
Yes.
So I went to AU, American University, and I, went through the master's program. And then I said, you know what, I'm going to work in the field again. I wanted to work in some previous nonprofit organizations, and some government organizations, to, again, learn how to do this and to do this well. And it was during this time that I was still involved in church ministry, right? Like, that was still happening. So while I was out in the field serving, the people, I was still serving the people of the church. I was still, serving congregants. And so as this was going on, I saw this real connection between church and community, right? And I said, I want to explore this. I think there's something here. And my best friend, who's still my best friend, actually went to Wesley while I was actually at AU. And so I would go to Wesley all the time just to visit him.
Wow.
And he was like, you know what, Wesley Theological Seminary has this community engagement fellows program that talks about how faith-filled leaders can bridge church and community.
Yes.
You might want to consider doing this. And so I was like, okay. And I applied and I got in and I got into the fellows program. And of course, that's when I met you.
Yeah.
And was inspired by you. And so
she inspired me, guys.
And so, so that's kind of how I got to Wesley and in the fellows program and in the divinity program.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I remember distinctly one day in the fellows program, you gave a presentation on the nonprofit that you were going to do, that was already in place, right? And I was like, oh my, how is she doing all of this and she's in school? So tell us about this nonprofit that you've been telling us about, because I've seen the work that you've done. You've galvanized so many people in the community. What is it? Tell us more.
Yeah, of course. So the nonprofit is called Raising a Village Foundation.
Yes.
It is my most proudest work to this date. Raising a Village, the name actually came while I was at Clark Atlanta University in world history class.
Wait a minute. This name that you brought about in what year? Is this
2010. So it's actually a 10-year anniversary of the name being birthed. Yeah.
So it was given to you years before.
Years before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
In world history class, thinking about Driven, of course, at the time.
Yeah.
And I heard a small voice say Raising a Village Foundation. I wrote it down on a notebook. And I said, I don't know what this is, but we're going to see. So Raising a Village is really birthed out of Driven, what I did at Clark Atlanta. Again, I knew that we were operating like a nonprofit, and so I said, one day I'm going to create one, and that's what Raising a Village is. And so Raising a Village is a nonprofit organization that seeks to provide high-quality intervention programs and community resources to underserved children and families, and we do that through 3 core areas: education, health and wellness, and the arts. And I want to put a pin in there, because the reason why those are the 3 core areas is because when you look at a viable community, they are flourishing in those areas. They are flourishing. They have great schools, right? In terms of our education initiatives. When we think about our health and wellness, they are not in food deserts or food apartheid, right? They're not experiencing that. They have places to get healthy foods and go to Orange Theory and go to the gym and do those parks and rec centers.
Absolutely.
And when we think about the arts, those proficient communities have a place of cultural capital. They have places where you can look at music, arts, sporting events, etc. And so what Raising a Village tries to do is to journey with those communities that might be deficient in those areas and to provide education, health and wellness, and arts initiatives.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it how you are giving the underserved hope. Right? You're allowing them to see and be exposed to things that they normally aren't exposed to. So you start your first program in your school. Where was it? What was the setup? I know you said after school. So walk us through the journey of the after school program. What can we expect?
So as I mentioned before, the Driven to Succeed program started in the Atlanta Children's Shelter in college, right? And so I decided to not recreate the wheel, but to take the curriculum and what we did there and just see how I can apply it to DC schools or centers. And so Driven to Succeed has become much more comprehensive than that after-school program at the Atlanta Children's Shelter. Now it is a program that services elementary, middle, and high school students, and we do that through in-school programming, which means it's programming during the school day, and then we also do after-school programming.
Wow.
A lot of nonprofits, when they do education work, they immediately go to after school, which is easy for a principal to say, oh, we can just tag you on after the school day.
Right.
The hardest part is for a school to say, no, we're going to embed you into our school schedule. That's the hardest part, because you have to shift things around, see if teachers are wanting that, if they're available, etc. So I started with the hardest part first.
Wow.
So,
you're tough.
So I started with our in-school program,
Yeah.
which was when students can actually take an elective with us, either when it comes to life skills, which is more geared towards elementary and middle school, or college and career readiness classes, which is for our high schoolers. So I started at Calvary Christian Academy, which is actually the private school of the church, my former church, which is Greater Mount Calvary Holy Church.
Oh, nice.
And I started with 40 6th through 8th graders, 1 day a week, for an elective class, dealing with life skills and character development.
Wow.
It was just me, right?
Yeah.
I didn't have a team at the time. So when you met me and I did this, it was me with the curriculum, teaching the class.
No clue.
Providing the supplies,
No
all
clue.
of that.
Let me tell y'all, she had the website. I went on her website and I was like, oh my goodness, I need to do better. I gotta do better. But it was a team of one, you know, and you were driven. So you started at that school, all you, by yourself.
By myself, 40. And it was an opportunity just to test the curriculum, to see if it worked, to see if it worked across grade levels, to see if this is something that I could replicate, right? So it was my incubation or pilot phase, I would say. And it went extremely well. In fact, we did a semester-long programming. The school wanted us back, of course. We did not go back, which we can talk about. We didn't go back because I said, you know what, this works. Now, let me scale back. Let me plan, because the next time we come out with this, we're going to come back 10 times harder. So I took that time.
Wow. Well, that is very important, because oftentimes when a door opens, people just want to walk through it. You know, we want to go through the first opportunity. We want to go with the first yes. What made you say no? I'm going to do some internal work. I'm going to work on the foundation, work on the structure. That took a lot to say no.
Yeah, I think no is one of the most powerful things we could ever say. I don't think no is a weakness. I think no is actually a strength. So for me, I had 40 6th through 8th graders who were amazing.
Right.
They wanted me to expand to doing more days out of the week, right? I have a full-time job.
Yeah.
I'm at Wesley Theological Seminary.
Yeah.
I'm already dealing with 40 kids weekly, right? So thinking about the expansion, I wasn't ready. You know, I realized that I wasn't ready to do more. I needed help.
That's good.
So I took the time to say, how can I at least develop at least one more staff person, so to be able to do, you know, so I can be able to do more work. So I took the time to do some research on how to now gain more staff. And so I did that. So I took about a little, like maybe a year or so. So we did that the fall of 2017. I took spring of 2018 and summer of 2018 to just think about how to galvanize staff.
Wow.
And so I did that. I was able to get additional 2 staff members through an AmeriCorps grant. AmeriCorps is like the Peace Corps, but they do it domestically. They do domestic work. And so then by that time, we actually got a DC public school to say yes.
And you had your nonprofit license at this time?
At this time.
When you got the 2 volunteers and you got the grant?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So by this time, Raising a Village was incorporated. We had all of our appropriate paperwork. We had the bank accounts. We had all of the things that we needed in order to move forward.
Wow.
And so, and to be able to receive a grant, like there are certain things that nonprofits need in order to receive grant funding and to receive funding at any level. So I took kind of those, 6 to 8 months to do that work. And so at that time, I said, you know what? I did the private school piece. It works in a private school. The real test is if this can be at an official DC public school. So let me try that out, right? Again, this is all about just trying and seeing how it works, right?
Let's see.
And at that time, I had 2 additional staff members. So if I wanted to do multiple classes, I could, right? I had the ability. And so I made a cold call to a school.
Oh, you didn't know them.
I didn't know them.
You didn't have any connections there.
Not
you
at all.
called.
I called.
And what was the response?
I called. So this is the God moment. I think all of us experience
listen.
moment. So I did a cold call. And I said, hello, my name's Jaleesa Hall. I'm with Raising a Village Foundation. I'm trying to see if you guys are interested in some additional education programming at your school. The secretary goes, actually, we have a new community liaison that does partnerships. He's looking to partner. Actually, he's right next to me. Do you want to talk to him?
Wow.
I said, absolutely.
Right place,
absolutely.
right time.
I want to talk to him.
Oh, my goodness.
And we talked. And come to find out, he actually isn't an employee of DC Public Schools. He's actually an employee of an organization called Communities and Schools Nation's Capital.
Okay.
Communities and Schools is a national organization. They have community partners across the country, and they actually work in partnership with them to put them in at their various sites. So this is who I was talking to, had no idea. So we talked, and he said, I'm a new site coordinator. I need partnerships. Let's try you out for a pilot, and we'll pay you.
Oh, wow.
What?
What? And I'm getting paid. Okay, guys.
Hello.
I see how you're working.
And that's what happened. And so I said, okay, I said, you know what? I'm prepared. I did the work, right? I did the pilot. I know this works. I have the staff. I know this works. I had a whole list of volunteers because I did that preparation for those 6 to 8 months. And actually about a year and 6 to 8 months, I did the preparation.
Wow.
So by the time I got into that school and had the meeting with the principals and the administration and the teachers, we were ready to go.
Wow.
So we did a pilot program, and it went extremely well. And now we're in the school serving over 150 youth. In both in-school programming and after-school programming.
Thank you, Jesus.
And it's what it is now.
That is amazing. And what I think is very, very important that you're pointing out is the process, right? You cannot rush the process, and you cannot try to walk through doors prematurely. Yeah. But as you were waiting, you were still moving. You were still perfecting your craft. Yeah. You were still learning how to build your team, because when there's more, you have to be able to handle more.
Absolutely.
Okay. More burdens, more people. Okay.
You just spoke a word just right.
Yeah. What are you feeling? Because was it an amen?
No, it was an amen. That was an amen, because, and here's the piece, right? Here's the reality of this. My social location is I'm a Black woman from Miami, Florida, come from a middle class family. The most prominent nonprofits that we know were actually started by people that had wealth, which is really the conundrum of the nonprofit space. When we think about Goodwill, when we think about the Red Cross, when we think about even one of the former nonprofits I worked for, they were started with people who accumulated wealth.
Wow.
And so I had to understand that that wasn't my story. And so my wealth was my education.
Yeah.
My wealth was the ability to have strategy. My wealth was the ability to be in the room inconspicuously, because no one expects me to be the lead of Raising a Village, right? And so being in the room quiet, listening to when they're talking about budget, listening when they're talking about leadership and what's coming down the pike, I had to use it as my capital, right, to get to where I needed to be. And so planning and taking the time to listen, to learn, to strategize was important to me. And it was also, to me, a reflection of how I thought about this gift that God has given me, which is this organization. If I want to be a good steward of it, I need to take the time to listen, to learn, and to plan.
Wow.
And so when you said, like, to be ready and prepared, that spoke to me, because now that we are in 4 locations, I'm feeling that now, right?
Wow.
Like, that I took that time, which is able to get me to where I am right now.
Wow. So you started your nonprofit in 1 location, and it now has spread to 4. So walk us through the process of how you expanded the vision.
Right. So I started with a cold call, and the cold call actually worked, right?
Yes.
But I can say that the other 3 locations actually came from referrals, which is, I think, where I've always wanted it to go, is eventually that I wouldn't have to reach out, but that people will eventually reach out to us. And so one thing about the school space in particular, the public school space, is that teachers talk to teachers and principals talk to principals.
Right.
And so even if you're in the space as an educator, it's important that you do a good job, because people are watching. And bad news spreads faster than good news.
Yes.
And so that's what happened. So we did a really good job in our pilot program. We were there for a semester, like I said, and we had an 85% attendance rate. We had an 85% classroom completion rate.
Ooh,
we saw a 1 to 2 letter grade increase among low performing students. And when I mean 1 to 2 letter grade increases, I mean a student going from an F to a C. We've had about 5 students go from an F to a B in their math and English classes. And so that's data that is undeniable, right?
Wow.
And so, again, principals talk to principals. And so principals, they were talking, and he had something to brag about. And I'm glad that Raising a Village in our Driven to Succeed program was something that was in his mouth as he was bragging about the strides that his kids were making.
That's amazing.
So that's how we expanded to more schools. We're also in 2 community centers. The way in which that happened is my staff and I, we were going to attend a community partnership fair that the DC government was putting on. Unfortunately, I had to go home for a family emergency, and for some reason, all of my staff just had emergencies. We couldn't make it.
Wow.
Well, thanks be to God, we were in the directory. And a huge partner called and said, we're looking for an after-school program in 2 of our locations. Can we talk?
Wow.
And I said, we sure can. And so we had numerous meetings and proposal exchanges, and we came up with a proposal, and now we're in 2 of their community centers in hopes to expand to another 2 more by 2021. So,
wow, that's amazing. And it doesn't seem as if things would be as strong if you did not take that time to just say, no, I'm going to perfect what I have. I'm going to perfect my why, and then I'm going to launch out and be ready to receive all of the blessings that God has for you.
Yeah, I mean, time, I don't think we realize how important time is. I mean, time is really a gift. Time is something that you cannot get back. You can get money back, but you can't get time back. And so how do you use your time efficiently and effectively? And again, I don't come from money, right? And so my time is critical because that is currency to me. How I use my time, how I use my time to plan, how I use my time to network, how I use my time to prepare is currency, right? And so I did the work to do that. And I think by doing that, I've gotten to where I've gotten to. Now, I will say this. As much as I've prepared, there are certain things you learn by doing.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, there are certain things that I've learned in being a founder and CEO of a nonprofit that I've learned by doing and saying, oops, that works. Oops, wait, that doesn't work. Oops, that was a good hire. Maybe we need to manage up a little bit. So I will say that even with all the preparation that I did, which is critical
That's good.
to the work, there are certain things that I am learning by doing.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I live by this motto: win or learn, never lose.
Yes,
never lose.
I love that. I love that.
I forgot where I heard it and where I saw it, but when I saw that, I said, "This is it. I'm not going to be afraid to fail. I'm not going to be afraid to learn," and that's what it's all about. So you can't just cold call donors, or you can't just cold call everybody. So how do you expand the network? Have you placed yourself in certain spaces? Like, what is this ambition and what does it look like on a daily basis?
So no day is the same
Right.
at all. When it comes to being in certain donor spaces, like how to get people to support the organization, when I think about monetarily, it's happened in a variety of ways. It's happened with a Shark Tank kind of event that's happened where I've pitched the organization and someone not only gave us a huge donation but said, I want to sit on your board. That's happened. It's been partners, these big partners. Like, so mind you, the partners that I have, like a Communities in Schools or the affordable housing developer who's now a partner that we do after school programs from, these are huge partners with networks, right? And so again, if you do a good job, they talk, right? And so some of the funding and the support that we've gotten, the institutional support I've gotten, is from those partners who, again, are saying, look who we've partnered with and look at the results. And so you might want to get on this. So again, word of mouth has also been an opportunity for me to gain support both monetarily and institutionally. And then also individual donors, people that know me, people that know people that work with me, has also been helpful in providing monetary donations to the organization. One of my board members said something to say, you know, I know that you want to do individual contributions, which is cool, but sometimes you can really just get one individual contributor that can change your whole world. So it's about finding the right individual contributor, not just doing fundraisers and stuff just to do them, but who are the right people to contribute to the organization that can shift, right? And so that has been something that I'm doing on a daily basis, is finding the right people that can shift the organization again from where we are, which is point B now, to point C. So,
that's good. That's good. So it's about quality and not quantity.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Walk me through building your team. How did you get this team? Because we all know that nonprofits, you have to have this board. And for that person that's saying, one, the application process is just too long. Two, I don't know if I can do it. And three, like, where am I going to get this team from? How did you work through all of those hurdles?
Right. So I think the fellows program that we were a part of was very helpful. And mind you, throughout my time of building this, I was a part of the community engagement fellows program at Wesley, which is, where we come out of. I was also a part of this fellowship called the Changemakers Project, which took me to London for a few weeks to learn social enterprise there. That provided me a coach. That was also helpful. Again, that wise counsel that I talked about earlier. And so I first kind of listened to folks who have done nonprofit work to find out, how do you even build a board? And so typically, for those that want to start a nonprofit, you have a founding board, which are people who you just have on your paperwork to kind of get you through. Amen.
Right.
But then eventually you have to have a working and active board. These are people who are...
There's a difference.
Okay. There's a difference.
Okay.
A founding board are usually close friends, mentors, who serve kind of on your initial filing, who aren't really hands-on, but like just support you and are your cheerleaders. Like, go ahead, right? We're just here to whatever you need us to do. We're just gonna do it. And working an active board takes more of a formal role. So they're looking at your budget. They care about that. They're looking at your governance. How are you governing the organization? And what I mean governing is, do you have employee handbooks? Do you have contingency plan when the coronavirus comes, right?
Wow.
They're the ones that have insights and ties into the community in which you're serving. So they're the ones that can say, I can make a call to DC Public Schools for you. These are the ones who have stronger networks, strategic networks in the area. And they are really talented in specific areas of need of your organization. So these are presidents of universities, accountants, marketing executives, which are, titles of folks that are on my board.
Wow.
So that's how that happens. But it happens with taking the time to build relationship first.
Right.
So a lot of these people were friends of the organization. So these were people who I would go to every couple months to ask advice, right? And glean from. And when they started to see the progress of raising a village, I was able to say, hey, would you mind being on my board? And that's how it happened.
Wow. And I can tell you that knowing your why, knowing your elevator pitch, knowing your population, you being prepared for the abundance has allowed them to say, to say yes or to say no, because they see that you've done the work.
Right.
And they're not going to be just coming on because of their titles, but because you're going to work just as hard. So doing your work, guys, you can want the blessings and you can want the connections, but you have to show that you are showing up 100%.
That's so critical to
That's
the work.
amazing. Wow. Well, how can we get connected to this amazing foundation? Where can we find you? Where are you on social media for those who want to connect with your movement?
Sure. So we're on the web, where our website is raisingavillage.org. So they can reach out to us there. Again, raisingavillage.org. They can also find us on Instagram. It's just Raising a Village. You can find us on there. We're on Facebook as well. You can put Raising a Village Foundation in your search, and we're right there.
Wow.
So those are the ways in which you can find us. You can find us on the web. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Facebook.
That's
and
good.
We do have a Twitter as well, which is Raising a Village. So those are the ways in which folks can.
Wonderful. And they can donate on your web.
Donate, yes.
Donate
You'll
on your
see
website.
a donate button everywhere you go. donate.
Help the kids.
If you can. Help our children and our families. I mean, we provide healthy snack programs for our children. We provide every kid gets what we call a Driven to Succeed kit, which means they get a uniform, they get school supplies, they get, and it's all branded. So we do that again because it's special to be a part of Driven to Succeed. And so all of the donations go to making sure that our kids have supplies and ready to go for learning.
That's good. That is so awesome. That is so awesome. So I like to end every interview with a rise moment. So how can you motivate people to rise? For that person that really isn't sure how they're going to start their nonprofit or how they're going to start whatever they're called to do, what is one thing that you can motivate them with? Is it a thought? Is it a mindset? Quote, is it, maybe a personal experience? How can you motivate my risers to just do it?
Right. My older brother said something to me that was very impactful when I was about 14 years old. And he said, everyone is a potential solution to a problem in this world. And he said, the reason why I'm using potential is because it is up to you, right, to take the necessary steps to be that solution.
That's
right?
good.
So it's like all of us have the potential to be great, right? But we have to do the work, prepare, listen, discern in order to be able to be that solution fully realized. And so walk in your potential. That's great. I'm clapping for you. I'm glad you have the potential. But God has put something in you, in your hands, to work on.
Wonderful.
And so what's in your hand? And use that to actually be the solution fully realized.
Wow, use what you have. Wow, well, thank you so much for rising with me today, Jaleesa. Thank you for sharing your wonderful nonprofit. And I wish you nothing but blessings.
Thank you, sis.
We'll be meeting again soon.
Yes, we will. Call me.
Awesome. Well, you all have a great day, and thank you so much for rising with Christian. Be blessed. Bye-bye.